planning to fire up the grill this 4th of July? That hamburger might cost you more than you bargained for. Here's why beef is so expensive in 2025. Beef prices are hitting record highs in 2025, just in time for summer cookouts. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, the average price for ground beef is now $6.67 per pound, the highest recorded since the organization began tracking prices in 2013. This price surge comes as Americans prepare for July 4th celebrations, where ground beef is a staple for hamburgers and cookout meals. The primary reason for the spike is that classic economic formula: low supply paired with high demand. Despite rising costs, American consumers haven't backed away from beef. In fact, demand has remained strong since the COVID-19 pandemic, with shoppers still prioritizing high-quality meats for their meals. As a result, retailers can charge more, and consumers are still buying. On the supply side, the cattle industry is facing serious challenges. The U.S. cattle inventory has dropped to 86.7 million head, the lowest number seen since 1951, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Persistent drought conditions, worsened by climate change in major cattle-producing regions, have reduced available grazing land and hurt herd nutrition, shrinking cattle populations over time. Beef prices were already soaring in 2025 due to droughts, shrinking cattle herds, and strong consumer demand. But President Trump's tariffs may be making things worse. His decision to double tariffs on imported steel and aluminum to 50% is quietly increasing the cost of packaging, transportation, and storage, key components in the beef supply chain. From the tin plate steel used in cans of beef chili to the aluminum in refrigerated trucks and cold storage units, these rising input costs are contributing to the overall price surge. The transportation industry, crucial for moving perishable goods like beef, is feeling the squeeze as well. Steel tariffs mean it now costs more to repair trucks and maintain cold storage infrastructure, and those increased costs are trickling down to supermarkets. With ground beef already at record highs, any added cost, however indirect, can push prices even higher. While tariffs are often framed as tough-on-trade economic policy, economists say they can act like a silent surcharge on everyday essentials. And for American families trying to plan a cookout or stretch their grocery budget, that's becoming harder to ignore. Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel laureate and Columbia University economist, warns that tariffs like those imposed under President Trump's administration are broadly seen by economists as harmful to both the U.S. and global economy. It risks the worst of all possible worlds, a kind of stagflation, Stiglitz said in an interview with The Guardian. Inflation that is now being felt sharply in everyday essentials, like beef, where rising costs are squeezing consumers at the grocery store. Another growing concern for the beef industry is the threat posed by the New World screwworm, a parasitic fly that could devastate cattle herds. While the U.S. remains screwworm-free for now, recent outbreaks in southern Mexico have put American ranchers and officials on high alert. In May, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a suspension of cattle imports from across the southern border as a preventive measure. This decision comes as confirmed cases of screwworm have spread as far north as the Mexican state of Oaxaca, inching closer to the U.S. border. This threat is especially alarming because Mexico is one of the top suppliers of feeder cattle to the U.S., alongside Canada. The halt in Mexican imports is now compounding the already historic shortage of cattle within the U.S., adding even more pressure to prices. In Texas, America's largest cattle-producing state, livestock producers are on high alert. Many ranchers today have never experienced an outbreak of this pest, since a government-led eradication program eliminated screwworms in the U.S. by 1966. But as Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller was quoted in the Wall Street Journal, this pest poses a serious risk not only to Texas livestock and wildlife, but also to the economic backbone of our rural communities. As beef prices hit record highs this 4th of July, it's clear that multiple factors are driving costs up. From severe droughts, and historically low cattle inventories, to tariffs on essential materials, and the looming threat of pests like the screwworm. These challenges aren't just passing trends, they're reshaping the entire beef supply chain and pushing prices to levels consumers haven't seen in decades. So as you prepare your grill this summer, remember that the soaring cost of beef reflects a complex mix of economic and environmental pressures, making this season's cookout more expensive than ever before.